Welcome to Nightmare Chilling Legends, where we explore the darkest corners of folklore and the supernatural. Today, we unravel the chilling tale of the Witch of Yazoo, a haunting legend from Yazoo City, Mississippi, that has sent shivers down the spines of locals for over a century. The story begins in the late 1800s, when Yazoo City was a small but bustling town nestled along the Yazoo River. It was a place where everyone knew each other, but there was one resident who stood out, a mysterious woman who lived on the outskirts of town near the river's edge. She was known simply as the Witch of Yazoo. Her real name was lost to time, but her reputation was infamous. The townspeople whispered about her dark practices, claiming she was responsible for a string of disappearances and unsettling events. Fishermen often spoke of seeing her wandering the banks of the river at odd hours, muttering strange incantations, her eyes wild and unblinking. One day, a group of young fishermen decided to follow her. They kept their distance, hiding behind the trees, as she made her way to a secluded spot by the river. There, she began a strange ritual, speaking in a language no one could understand, casting what appeared to be curses upon the water. The boys watched in horror as the witch's voice grew louder and her gestures more frantic. Suddenly, she stopped and turned her head sharply in their direction, her eyes locking onto theirs. Terrified, the boys ran back to town, breathless and panicked, spreading the tale of what they had seen. The story quickly spread, and the fear of the Witch of Yazoo grew even stronger. The townsfolk, already suspicious of her, were now certain she was dabbling in dark magic. They believed she was cursing the town, blaming her for the recent misfortunes that had befallen Yazoo City. Livestock dying mysteriously, crops failing, and children falling ill without explanation. In their minds, she was the cause of all their woes. But what truly cemented her place in local lore was what happened next. Not long after the fishermen's encounter, the town's sheriff decided to confront the witch. He approached her shack cautiously, feeling the weight of the townspeople's fear and expectations. As he neared her home, he could hear her chanting inside. Gathering his courage, he burst through the door. The sight that greeted him was unlike anything he had ever seen. The witch was surrounded by strange symbols drawn on the floor, herbs and bones scattered everywhere, and the air was thick with the smell of smoke and something else, something unidentifiable and foul. Upon seeing the sheriff, the witch let out a cackling laugh that echoed through the trees. She was seized and dragged away, but as she was taken from her home, she spat out a curse with her dying breath. She swore that in 20 years she would return from the grave to burn Yazoo City to the ground. The sheriff and townspeople, unnerved but determined to rid themselves of her dark influence, buried her in Glenwood Cemetery. They placed heavy chains around her grave, hoping to bind her spirit and keep her from returning. The years passed, and as the townspeople moved on, the witch's curse became nothing more than a story told to scare children, a cautionary tale about meddling in dark forces. But as the 20th anniversary of her death approached, unease began to creep back into the town. On May 25, 1904, exactly 20 years after the witch's death, a fire broke out in Yazoo City. It started in the center of town, spreading rapidly due to strong winds. The fire blazed uncontrollably, consuming everything in its path. Over 200 homes and businesses were reduced to ash. The town was devastated. Despite efforts from firefighters and volunteers, the flames seemed to have a life of their own, jumping from building to building, fueled by a malevolent force. The blaze destroyed a large portion of Yazoo City, leaving a trail of charred ruins in its wake. As the town smoldered and the people gathered to mourn the destruction, whispers began to circulate that the witch had made good on her curse. The townspeople, in disbelief, made their way to Glenwood Cemetery to check on her grave. What they found chilled them to the bone. The chains around the witch's grave were broken, as if something had forced its way out. The timing of the fire, exactly 20 years after her death, and the sight of those shattered chains convinced many that the witch had risen from the grave to exact her revenge. The fire was forever etched into Yazoo City's history, not just as a tragic event, but as a supernatural act of vengeance. Even today, Glenwood Cemetery remains a place of eerie fascination. The witch's grave is a popular site for those seeking a brush with the paranormal. Visitors often report feeling an inexplicable chill when they approach her tombstone, and some claim to hear faint whispers carried on the wind. Ghost hunters and paranormal investigators have visited the site, capturing strange noises and unexplained phenomena. Locals still warn against disturbing the grave, believing that the witch's spirit is restless and always watching. The legend of the Witch of Yazoo continues to captivate those who hear it. Whether seen as a cautionary tale about the dangers of superstition or a true account of supernatural retribution, it's a story that refuses to die. It serves as a reminder of the power of belief and how the past can continue to haunt us in the most unexpected ways. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the chilling tale of the Witch of Yazoo. If you're fascinated by stories of curses, hauntings, and the unexplained, be sure to subscribe to Nightmare Chilling Legends. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest episodes. And don't forget to share your thoughts or any supernatural experiences in the comments below. What haunted legend should we explore next?